Okay, this is the Coffs Harbour Tri Club cycle leg course, and off to the left here is the transition area, and we will enter onto this road from where you can see those two grey cars. That is where we'll enter the course, and up at the give way sign as we approach it now is we want to be mounted on our bikes round about there somewhere. And we mount our bikes about here, and then we need to be definitely mounted before we hop onto this road. Make sure you look to the right and give way to all traffic and obey all road rules on this entire course. There's a few little potholes here. This is an area that can be quite dodgy because a lot of people are getting comfortable, looking down at their feet, fixing up their bike, feeling comfortable. For me, I normally just get through this part up until the roundabout. There's a lot of people, as you can see on the course. This crossing here, pedestrian crossing, very mindful of everyone around. Just be aware there'll be a lot of people around. Keep your head up and be aware. We've got this roundabout coming up, so please don't be in your aero bars or your drops yet. Just stay on that top handlebar and let's just get through this railway crossing. If it's wet, the railway crossings can be slippery. I normally get off my seat and stop pedalling over a railway crossing, and I take the pressure on the feet and the arms onto the handlebars. It's a lot safer way to get across for me. You might have a better technique, but I would advise that just be very careful of crossings. They can be slippery when they're wet. Really good idea to just cruise over that. And then now that we've entered Harbour Drive, we can start to get a little bit comfortable. Always look out at the crossings for people. Some people will give way, some people won't, but make sure they wave you through if you are going to go through. But at all times we must stop at the crossing. Be very careful of people opening car doors. There's a lot of people getting out, going to the cafes and restaurants. We still have one more crossing here, and then it's after this crossing we start to get a bit of space and we can start to get really comfortable on the bike. We move over to the left hand lane, and then if we're going to pass anyone up this hill, we overtake on the right hand side. Never overtake on the left, as you will get disqualified in any race that you do. Now for me personally, I still aren't comfortable enough to be on my aero bars or down in my drops on the bike going down this part of the hill. It's not till round about here I start trying to find a bit of a rhythm, and I'm starting to move along here going down the bottom of the hill. Just watch out for a few little potholes just here on the left, but if you can, stay in the left hand lane, and around here I try and stay in the middle of the left hand lane only because of those potholes. It's from about here on that where those flags are that you start to get a really clear road. There starts to be a lot of space. There's not normally a lot of parked cars along here, and there's a little doozy of a hill here that sometimes always gets me after the swim, and you really start to feel the legs tire out, especially if you haven't been doing a lot of training, which is a bit of a technique of mine. Anyway, as we come along to the top up here, a lot of people I've seen already start to move over. I think that's a bit of a no-no because you can get some frustrated motorists. But it's from about this point on where you start to look over your shoulder, where you see that sign, start to look over your shoulder and start to move over to the right. If you're comfortable, use your hand. If not, just look over to your shoulder, call out moving right, and it's the best way to take it. You don't want to get too much speed on this roundabout because you want to keep looking to the right for cars coming. So we turn around the corner here. Now I must stress on all roundabouts and all approaches to roundabouts, never be on your aero bars and never be in the drops. It's just too dangerous. I must stress that. Never be on your aero bars and never be on your drops going round a roundabout. It's just way too dangerous. As we head along now, we've entered Hogburn Drive. This is a great stretch and you can really start to find some rhythm now. You're in the drops, you're on your aero bars, you're really finding a really nice little pace along here, and you can get a great rhythm. And if you find it in the right gear, I find that this little climb here coming up can be quite a lot of fun, and you can get a lot of rhythm up this hill. But to everyone riding in this race, stay on the left hand side of the lane here. It's a great piece of bitumen, it's a great piece of road. You can't beat this little stretch. So as we climb here, the hill does start to get a little bit steep, but keep your ears open at all times for cars trying to pass you. Just be mindful if you are going to ride right on the white line on the left there. Be careful of those little cat eye reflectors. I have seen cyclists over the years on other rides I've done come off. Also, we've just gone through a little island crossing there. Keep your ears open again for cars that might try and squeeze through. You've got to be very wary of those cars, and you have to try and ride safely and also protect yourself out there on the road. So as you know, we're coming up to a roundabout here soon. There's a little hill here. The camera doesn't really show you the hill climb at all, and you can't really appreciate it. But as you climb to the top, we all do naturally slow down. So really look to the right, look to the left, and make sure there's no cars coming. And again, don't be in your drops, don't be on your aero bars. Always give way to the traffic, because you never know what might go past, like an ambulance. Hopefully that's not going to one of our riders. So then the next thing we do is we come along here, again, not in the drops, not on the aero bars, and we are riding, trying to pick up a little bit more pace to enjoy this little hill that we go down, which can always be a nice little relief for the legs. So keep those legs spinning. Again, for me, I don't really get in the aero bars or the drops here, but if you're a more confident rider, you might, because you've only really got to get back up again on your handlebars up the top, up at this roundabout here. You can have a lot of speed coming into this roundabout, so I must admit, I slow down, I take the pressure off the legs, I get back up on the top part of my handlebars, especially on your aero bars or drops, look to the right and then cross. At all times, no cyclist should overtake another cyclist in a roundabout. It's just too dangerous. And again, we've got another roundabout here. You can get back down in your drops, get back down in your aero bars, but again, I would, me personally, most of the time I stay up high, especially always when I get to these roundabouts. Look to the right and left and then cross. Come through the roundabout, and then again another great little stretch of road where you can get back down on those aero bars and find some rhythm. And it's a great little piece of road. Listen for cars coming up behind you, listen for riders. If a rider's coming up behind you, the rider should just say on your right, not move to the right, on your right. It's a great way to overtake people. So because this is such a great little stretch of road, by the time you get to the corner, you can actually have a fair bit of speed going on the bike. So take the corner very carefully. I get off my aero bars for this corner. When it's wet, it's actually particularly slippery. I actually have seen a few guys and some good cyclists actually come off there in races and just riding as a pack. So be very, very careful when you're riding your bike around that corner, because it can be slippery. Then what we do is we just cycle away up here up the hill. It's a slight little climb. In the mornings this can be a little bit harder because of the offshore breeze blowing, the westerly breeze, but it is a nice little stretch to get some rhythm. You can be in your aero bars here and really find some nice rhythm along the way. We're just coming up past Park Beach Plaza. Watch for all cars coming out on any of the streets. Watch also for car doors opening. It is the morning, people might have got their coffee and things like that. Now this little section here can be a little bit tricky with cars going into Park Beach Plaza, so come over to that left side lane and stay in this lane. It's a much safer way to get across the roundabout. Look to the right, look left and straight ahead, and then cross. Again, this is a bigger roundabout, this one, but again I stay up on the top part of my handlebars. I'm not in the aero bars here. Then once it's clear, you can kind of come across onto the other side of the road here. Listen out for cars and bikes. It's a very quiet time in the morning around here. So you come across here and you do a full U-turn on this roundabout. There is no way you should be in your aero bars at this stage or your drops. You come up on those top handlebars and turn around very carefully. Now this can be a great moment here to stay in the left-hand side lane or right-hand side lane to get a drink. Have a bit of a drink, spin the legs lightly, put the drink back in and go for it. Down here, through here. Now obviously you're coming up to a roundabout, so be careful of cars on the right. And again, we have to slow down here for this particular van. And then we keep going along. There's two cars there, so we must be very careful on how we enter these roundabouts. And again, I'm always on my top handlebars, never on my aero bars here. Then this section we must watch out for, because sometimes, as you'll see, this car here is turning right. So it's sometimes a good idea to be in the left lane, but it can also be, it just depends on the traffic. It's up to you how you handle that situation, but just be mindful that cars will turn right there. Now this is a great little section to pick up some speed, but it can also be a very tricky little section because you can have your head down. You might not see the parked cars on the left, And also you can look out for opening car doors in the morning from people coming back from getting their papers or coffees, because it does happen that people cannot see the cars ahead of them, and the car doors could be opening. So it's really important that we just keep focused on the road, but you can also find a really nice rhythm. So just keep the head up at 45 degrees, looking straight ahead and on the road at the same time. Again, on this corner, I stop, spinning my legs, and I just come around comfortably. Never apply any brakes. Never apply any brakes unless for emergency reasons, because people have come off on those corners before. And I stop with my pedals. I keep my inside pedal up high, my outside pedal is down low. If you need to know more about that, we can explain that to you. Feel free to come and ask any of the experienced cyclists how to go around a corner. Again, this is a really nice stretch of road. I really enjoy this little stretch. It's also, you have to be mindful of drafting along here. I've seen many people, and I'm probably guilty myself, of drafting along here, and it can be a little bit tricky. So make sure you keep that distance. And then as we come up to another roundabout, there's a little bump there, so be mindful of that bump. But look to your right, stay on the top part of your handlebars, and then enter back down onto the main street and come back down to your aero bars again if you're comfortable. Some of you, and I know a lot of you like myself, I just stay on the top handlebars for this entire stretch of roundabouts, because I just don't like going up, down, up, down, up, down all the time. It's much, with a few cyclists around here too, it can be a little bit congested, so just be mindful of that. Enter one of the last roundabouts for this lap of the course. I think we've got one more to come. Look to your right, look to your left, and then enter through the roundabout. Mindful of turning too sharply on some of these roundabouts, because I have seen people hit their pedals on the road as well and come off. Also watch for aggressive cars coming to roundabouts. Some will try and beat you to the roundabout, so be mindful of that. So keep the ears open and listen for cars and cyclists. This is a little hill climb here. You can really crack it through here if you like. Get off your seat and really push it into the roundabout. But again, be mindful that we have to, there's a nice little flat section here and plenty of time to slow down, look to the right, and then turn a left turn here into Orlando Street. So again, we've had to stop here for a little bit of time. Please don't sneak and take over cars there if they're waiting their turn. You must wait your turn. You must obey the road rules. As we go along now, Orlando Street, just be mindful that on the left hand side of the road here, it's a little bit bumpy. I tend to ride in the middle of the road on this part, but you must be mindful of cars behind you, because you could frustrate the drivers. So if you know there's a car behind you, probably best to come over to the left hand lane. But if there isn't, I'd try and ride in the middle part of the road. And it's probably not until just before, about 100 metres before the bridge here, that the road starts to balance out and be even all along, so you can ride along anywhere. But be careful of don't riding too close to the left hand side of this rail here on the bridge, because you don't want to tempt any cars to overtake you. So it is always safe along this little stretch to ride somewhere in the middle of the road, a little bit to the left, not too far. Now just be mindful here, there's another really good bump, and I've seen someone on the aero bars just about there, almost come off being on the aero bars. So just be mindful, they're not potholes, but they're just nice little divot bumps, so just be mindful of these. And then it's obviously a great little stretch to start spinning the legs if this is your second lap, because on our CoffsTriClub course there's 2 laps for the normal course. I think if you're doing the little enticer that we do, the short course, there's only 1 lap, but this particular there's 2 laps. So if you're going to go and do the second lap, you'd probably, after this roundabout, be mindful of this roundabout, by the way, there's always cars coming out with the markets getting ready. But if you're going to do the second lap, you stick into the right hand lane. Now we're going to just come into the finish here and go on the left hand lane and then finish. So just be mindful of cars again coming around your right there, and obviously we've got the crossing, so sometimes it does time perfectly with a train, so don't try and beat it, just you have to wait your turn. Again, when I go over the railway crossings, I stop spinning, and then I also take a lot of pressure on my pedals and I come off my seat. That's how I like to do it. Other people do other ways, but I think that is the safest way. If you're pedaling when you go over a railway crossing and it's wet, I have seen cyclists slip. Again, it's market day when this course is normally on, so this race is normally on. Be mindful of all these crossings. We must wait for people. We must wait their turn. Even though this crossing isn't being used at the moment, people still use it as a crossing, because as you can see, you can still see it. Again, there's a few little potholes. It's can be a little bit tricky. People will be walking everywhere, so there should be no overtaking here. Do not overtake any cyclists once we come into this area after the crossing. There's lots of people around, and then as you see, we'll come into this little stretch here and turn right, and then normally there's a marshal there, but you still must give way to traffic. And then it's round about here somewhere, anywhere between now and this little, there's normally 2 cones just there in front of us, and we can actually dismount our bike. We must be dismounted before the 2 cones, and that is basically the Coffs Harbour Tri Club course.